Jake is a hustler at the Domjot table. Kira gives Odo a plant. And Odo, of all people, teaches a Jem'Hadar, of all people, to smile. Hey everybody, and welcome to the 7th Rule with Cirroc Lofton.
Hello, hello. What's up, everybody?
My name is Ryan T. Husk, and today we are reviewing Deep Space Nine's Season 3, Episode 6, called The Abandoned, directed by the Creole cookout champion of 2396 himself, Mr. Avery Brooks.
Oh, that was an Avery Brooks directed one,
Yes, sir.
huh?
Yes, sir.
That was the first one.
Yeah. No, I feel like it was the second. I feel like we just had one a few episodes ago. Yeah, because it was one that he was hardly in. So he found one that he was hardly in, and he directed that one. This one, he wasn't in it a ton either. You know, it was a lot more Odo. It was a lot more Jem'Hadar and Bashir. But he was, it was definitely a Jake and his dad episode, huh? But we got no names for Nog, did we?
I didn't get any Nog. I don't think so. I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I don't think we got any Nog names.
That's okay.
I thought you were going to say...
Oh, we're already going for it.
Yes.
This is like the highlight of our week now.
Yeah, what are the intros? You know,
yeah, the trivioids.
Guess Ryan's trivioids. I thought,
all right, let's hear your guesses. I love this.
My guess was Jake has a date with a Dabo girl.
Mm-hmm.
Odo kicks the bucket.
Oh, I wish.
Hey man,
what?
Come on! I mean, it was right there.
And I'm like, Kira gives Odo a plant. God, I'm such a terrible. Okay, what's the third one?
And Bashir got punched. That was
okay. So that's your Kira gives Odo a plant one.
Yeah, that was my regular one. But I kind of enjoyed watching Bashir get punched real fast.
So for those of you at home wondering how right Cirroc is, just wait until the other side of our break later on. We'll go over all the quick trivioids and we'll see how close we are there. Because there are a lot of good ones today. Deep Space Nine always gives us a nice poo-poo platter of just, is that a thing? I feel like it's a thing.
A poo-poo platter? No, I don't think it's a thing.
Yeah, it's a thing, right? Tell us in the comments below what a poo-poo platter is. Right? I mean, like if the Dabo girl was like, hey, I love giving your son a poo-poo platter, you know, then Captain Sisko would be like, oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah,
it's a thing. It's like, anyway.
It is a thing, I guess, maybe.
But I don't know what it is.
This was the episode, The Abandoned. Okay, so that's why it sticks out in my mind when as one of the episodes I remember recording.
Mm-hmm.
I guess now that you mentioned that Avery directed it, it probably adds more to it. I'm sure that that was probably the reason why I did better performance-wise in this episode, because I usually act better when Avery's directing. Because he's really good at giving me the right notes.
I thought I was thinking about that, and actually right before we get to that, let me just say, I just Googled poo-poo platter, and would you believe when I typed in poo-poo, platter was the second guess that came up. But you know what was the first? Poo-poo pee-pee. Poo-poo pee-pee was the first guess, but it was poo-poo platter. So poo-poo platter is a tray of American Chinese or Hawaiian food consisting of an assortment of small meat and seafood appetizers. See, I knew it was Pacific Islander because they only have 12 languages in the Hawaiian, 12 letters in the Hawaiian language. And so when there are words that sound like that, it's usually Hawaiian. Anyway, so I thought about that Avery was directly directing you and your performance and making that whole thing happen. Do you ever remember any like little hints or secrets or trigger words that he would say that would kind of like unlock something in your performance?
Most of it came from perspective, just kind of letting you know where we are, what your mindset should be going into this particular scene, you're upset with your dad because of this, and it's okay because you're really in love with this girl, that kind of stuff, but the thing that stands out the most, I mean, you couldn't help but miss it when Marta my date was at the Dabo table, and I just remember, number one, she was a very beautiful and attractive young lady that they cast to play this.
I hadn't noticed.
You didn't notice? Yeah, she's very, very beautiful young woman, and she was older than me, so she was actually older than the 20 years old that she was playing.
I did notice that.
Yeah, so I'm sure she was like around 25, around 24, 25 at that time, which was even more nerve-wracking for me at 16 to kind of be dating really like an older chick.
Yeah.
So I remember the nerves that I had going into this episode. You know, do I have the kissing scene, and how is it gonna interplay?
Did you get to a point, or do you even remember if when you first saw her, you're like, oh, shit, she's hot too. Damn it. Like where it just made it more stressful because you're like,
yeah, it was definitely that. It was one of those things where she was hot too, and you could see the outfit she had on. I mean, right off top in the opening scene was kind of revealing. So I was intimidated by all of that. I was like, oh God, she's hot. I gotta, she's older, and she's wearing these skimpy clothes and stuff. So it was a combination of all of that.
Well, I hope you guys are still friends. 25 years later. I mean,
yeah, no, I wish we were. I think she was looking at me at that time, as, oh, he's such a cute little, I was getting a lot of that at that time because I was interested in girls that were outside of my age range. And so I would always get the, oh, so cute.
you were the Bashir on set, huh?
Yeah. So I was always getting that. And this was just another moment like that. But I thought it was really good that Avery was directing this episode. It helped me get over a lot of that stuff too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I liked it. I will say though that she wasn't in any previous episodes. She was just mentioned, right? So I remember being surprised that she looked older than I expected her to, but that happens all the time on TV when they have like high schoolers being played by 30-year-olds or whatever. So You see this lady and I was like, oh, she's older than I expected. And then she goes, oh, here's Jake. And then in some strange moment, you actually looked younger than I expected you to. Like, it's almost like I forgot how young you were when this lady walks in and she strolls and she's flirting with this dude and swindling this guy and doing all this. And then she sits down next to a child.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, you're just a baby still.
That's what I was thinking as well. And I was also thinking, what the hell am I doing hanging out at a bar at 16?
Working on your poetry.
Yeah.
And it works.
Jake plays the Dabo tables, that's where he goes looking for his dates. He's
also a hustler at the Domjot table. Now, Domjot, I don't know if they probably didn't give you any backstory on Domjot. No. It's a game, I don't know if it's a Nausicaan game or if just Nausicaans play it a lot. And they're like these big guys with like predator mouth, if you remember the movie Predator with like that. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And there was a scene, there was an episode called Tapestry, one of the best Next Generation episodes where Picard gets stabbed to the heart. And then he has this whole storyline about that. It's really amazing. And actually, Marty, I think was her name, or at least her nickname, was a character that was mentioned in Picard later on. Like the one guy said he served with this dude who was the first officer of Marty, who was Picard's friend at Starfleet Academy. Anyway, getting away from ourselves here. The point is, he got stabbed in the heart because of a disagreement playing Domjot with Nausicaans, who are like these big, Klingon kind of oafs. And he would say like, play Domjot, human. That's a pretty good impression if you've ever seen it. It's pretty good.
That sounds pretty good, actually. I actually sound like Rom doing it, but pretty good.
Bigger than Rom. But anyway, so that's what it is. It's kind of like pool. And so apparently you're a hustler at the Domjot table, which I thought was awesome. I love that.
Yeah, I kind of liked it. That's when I was like, hey, let me go check on the dessert and see how everything's going.
I see a lot of notes this time. Did you draw any pictures?
You know what? I didn't draw any pictures this time. If I did, it would have been of Marta, and I don't know if you wanted to see that at this in this moment here.
I was playing tennis in my head, trying to decide, should I say Marta or should I not? You said it for me, so thanks.
I like the line that Sisko says. I think he's talking to O'Brien, and O'Brien's like, "Yeah, so you got that date tonight, the dinner." And Sisko's something to the effect of like, "You know about that?" And he's like, "Yeah, that's all Jake could talk about." And he says, I think O'Brien's like, "Don't worry, you'll like her." And Sisko says something to the effect of like, "She's 20 years old dating my son. I don't want to like her."
Right. That was the line. I loved it.
And I loved that. It was just perfect. Like, I don't want to like her.
And there was another great line between those two, but later on when he was okay with you walking around with her, and O'Brien says like, "Hey, you're okay with this?" And he says something like he's accepting it. And he was like, "Oh, what? When you got to meet her, you got to know her and realize you liked her?" And he says, "Well, no, I just got to know my son a little better." And that's,
yeah. I thought you were going to say something else. I like the line O'Brien said. He said 16 years old and dating a double girl. Godspeed, Jake.
Godspeed, Jake.
Good for you, you son of a bitch.
He's going to buy you your first cigar when you're 18.
Yeah. He's like, "I'm proud of that kid, boy. He's really making something of himself."
No, that was great. That was a beautiful line because we all know exactly what was happening. O'Brien is like the everyman, you know what I mean? There's a scene.
Yeah.
There's a scene with him in Take Me Out to the Holosuite. I don't know if you know this, but he and Bashir are walking out of the game or to the game. And he says, "Hey, you want some of this? It's called gum." And Bashir's like, "What is that?" He says, "Back in the day, it was like this chewing thing and they would infuse it with flavors." And Bashir's like, "Oh, really? What did you infuse it with?" And he goes, "Scotch." So that's the kind of guy that's saying, "Go get him, Tiger."
Yeah. I'm chewing on Scotch gum.
Yeah. Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It's funny because when they found that baby, those old baby on board stickers that you put on your car? Yes, on the back.
Not on mine, but yeah.
Not on yours, but you see them on the back. It's the yellow, looks like a caution traffic sign or something, traffic signs. But it's baby on board. So I was just imagining DS9 with a baby on board little.
That would be hilarious, especially if it has like a picture of the baby with like the little Jem'Hadar little thing that it had. Jem'Hadar baby on board.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
There are a lot of weird things about this episode. Like the baby looked like a human, but with a stamp. And then as it got older, it started looking more and more like a Jem'Hadar. Now, realistically speaking, they did that because they don't want to put a baby through 3 hours of makeup, obviously. You know what I mean? Right. But it was weird to be like, "Oh, it's a human. Oh, now it's a Jem'Hadar somehow." One thing I did think, though, was when he was like a 10 or 12-year-old and they were starting to put the heavy makeup on, I remember thinking it would have been so cool if they had Aron in that role, like as like the teenage Jem'Hadar character.
Yeah, they could have pulled that off, actually.
Absolutely, because his voice sounded like Aron, and that's what made me think of it.
Me too. I thought of him as well when I was watching the episode. And the size was accurate, the size was right. And it looked like he could have pulled that character off easily. Especially, they only used it for, I think it was one scene, during the transition of him growing.
Right.
But yeah, I thought that would have been cool, to have Aron in there. Actually, I thought I could have played one of the Jem'Hadar incarnations at some point when he was in his young teens and something.
You'd be a good Nausicaan, too.
Yeah. I'm narcissistic. Thank you. Thank you very much.
I approve.
A little wordplay there.
I approve very strongly.
Yeah. This one is there were a few weird things. I did like the interplay, though, in the beginning, the teaser with Quark and this alien woman that was selling him the junk.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love the wordplay between them. I love the in some episodes, Quark really comes off as like a Casanova. He really looks like he's like he's a player, right? He's got the ladies on like on deck.
Yeah, her name was Rionaj. I don't think that they said it. I just looked it up on IMDb because I was wondering if she was going to come back later in the episode or anything like that. So I took a quick note. But yeah, Rionaj, too bad. It would have been cool. I wonder if we see her in any subsequent episodes. I don't think so. Because on IMDb, it just had one picture of her and it was from that scene. Meaning that's all they got.
You know, and speaking of that, I'm glad you brought that up because I thought that the guy who was gambling in the beginning was somebody that we'd seen before. You know that alien? He's the one that lost all his money in the beginning.
He had like ram's horns on his cheeks or something.
Yeah. And I felt like it wasn't the first time we had seen him. I felt like I'd seen him before. So when they showed him in the opening scene, I was thinking, have I seen this alien before?
You've got a keen eye. Oh, I'll tell you what his name was. Alien High Roller. Nice name. Alien High Roller. Sounds like a background character.
Now, there was an episode, for example, when Quark was had competition for the casino. Remember the guy had invented this game and everybody was playing? I felt like he was in that episode, the High Roller.
No,
character.
It looks like maybe a similar alien, but it was not. Well, it at least wasn't that same actor. Okay, but it may have been a similar alien. I don't know what kind of alien that was because he's just an alien high roller, generic alien high roller. Yeah,
generic high roller. But the line that Quark says in the beginning, she's like, "Hey, are you in the mood to buy this junk? You know, I got a bunch of junk to sell you," and he says no, but I am in the market for entertainment.
Yeah, that was so naughty. I'm like, Quark and Bashir really are
he never stops. Stops. But I think Quark gets more action than Bashir, though. He literally, at least he's got some ex-girlfriends that come up to him and slap him every once in a while.
Because he kind of goes, he kind of looks for his ladies on the black market. You know what I mean? Like he's looking for fellow shady characters or different aliens or whatever. Whereas Bashir's trying to just hook up with coworkers, with like Starfleet officers and coworkers. They're like, "Are you serious? We're coworkers, dude. We worked. I'm your superior. We're you know."
Did you get the memo?
Totally different pool, totally different situation. Whereas Quark is picking up women at a bar, at an intergalactic bar.
Right.
Totally different.
Right. It's totally different. It is. And they're usually nefarious characters that are selling him something on the black market or, you know, so he has that kind of a relationship with them. He actually enjoys the fact that they're just as mischievous as he is.
They're like-minded.
Like-minded, yeah. But he certainly gets more action. So far, I've seen Quark at least with 3, 4, 5 different girls that have, you know, had some kind of interaction relationship.
Well, Bashir had that one lady that floated at him like this one time, remember? Remember that one?
I remember
Melora?
that.
I think her name was Melora. So it's like 7-1. It's still anybody's game.
It's still anybody's game. There were a few things in this episode. You know, it's funny because they mentioned a couple of things when they were talking about taking the Jem'Hadar baby to the USS Constellation that was coming to pick him up.
Right.
And Sisko says something to the effect of like, yeah, he's going to be studied by xenobiologists and exopsychologists.
Mm-hmm.
And I was
That's
thinking,
coming out on his new rap album, yeah.
yeah. So what it originally made me think of was, as of late, the word xenophobia has been really popular in the lexicon of language. And I hadn't heard of xenophobia before, you know, the last couple of years recently. That's something I don't recall studying 10, 20 years ago. I don't remember it being talked about at least as much as it is now. Xenophobia. And so here when they said xenobiologist, I was thinking, okay, so they have the xeno action.
Xeno warrior princess.
Yeah, and the other one was exopsychologist, and they use exoskeleton when they talk about an exoskeleton frame. But I've never heard them say exopsychologist, which is another terminology where it's kind of this mashup of words that we're used to hearing with two different words that we're used to hearing kind of put together.
Totally. And the effect that they used there, and I noticed the same thing, it was very poignant because they came up with big, long, medical, ugly sounding terms to really hit home the point that he would be going to a cold place, like a place that's scientific, a place that's cold, a place with big, heartless words and feelings and studies, and that it just does, just the feeling you get when you hear those words is not like he won't be going home. He'll be going to xenobiologist and exo, whatever it was, psychologist. And that was a really good effect with whoever wrote that line. I thought that was a really, really well-written line.
Yeah, it really conveyed the fact that he was about to be put on display and be scrutinized in this kind of scientific level where it's not going to be him living a normal life. And that was one thing that, you see as the story plays out, Odo really attached to and really related to the fact that he would have this lifestyle of scrutiny, because I believe Odo had that lifestyle of growing up, not fitting in and being analyzed and, what is this guy? Who is he? And that was one thing that he didn't want to have happen to the Jem'Hadar.
Right. Hang on. We're going to take a break in just a second here. But it does bring up something I also wanted to mention too, after you're done with your point, which may have been kind of like the most interesting part of this script to me, which Star Trek seems to do really well, specifically Deep Space Nine. But we'll take a quick break and we'll be right back with the Seventh Rule, which is this show that we're doing right now. Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Seventh Rule. It was just a couple seconds for you, but Cirroc and I talked about so much stuff during our break. It was loads of fun, by the way. I'll have you know. Sorry, but we know how to party on the breaks.
Yeah.
So here are the quick trivioids, the ones, all the options here, some that didn't make the cutting room floor. Rionaj was that lady you mentioned in the junk, and the reason you mentioned that, and I smiled, was because that was the one that I almost used but decided not to. So it's Rionaj says she thinks Quark will like this junk. She said, he's like, oh, what am I going to want with Joe? She's like, oh, you're going to like my junk. And I'm like, did she just say that? I got to look at that script. Was that embellished? And then Quark bought a child. Dax hasn't seen that look on Sisko's face since Jake stopped wearing diapers. I say diapers because it sounds like what old people say. Kira gives Odo a plant. Everyone wants to see Odo's quarters. Bashir and Dax discuss a key isogenic enzyme. Odo defeats people by letting them dive through him. Because the Jem'Hadar dove through him. And then he was defeated. He was just like, oh, I can't beat that. Odo, of all people, teaches the Jem'Hadar, of all people, to smile. I thought that was pretty silly. This was
that was a great moment too, when he was smiling, because Odo himself can't really smile that great.
No, he's like, and the actor, those who are the Jem'Hadar, he was like, he's like a horse nibbling on a carrot.
Odo's like, we'll work on that. I'm like, you need to work on
learn to crawl before you can learn to teach, pal. The one that was the toughest not to make the top three was Sisko prepares his father's shrimp creole with Mandalay sauce.
Mandalay Bay.
It's just fun to talk about. The owner of Mandalay Bay, by the way, is a co-owner of the Golden State Warriors.
Oh, little intro.
Yeah. Jake writes some of the most beautiful things that Marta has ever read. Jake is a hustler at the Dom Jot table. Obviously, I chose that one instead of the poetry.
Yeah.
And Bashir becomes a drug dealer for a Jem'Hadar kid.
Kinda.
Yeah, kind of. Also, one quick thing that you mentioned, the Constellation, or what was the ship? I can't remember.
Yeah, the USS Constellation.
Yeah. There was I was like, oh, we should have a NAM for Admiral Nechayev, because they mentioned Admiral Nechayev on the Constellation. So we did get one NAM.
Okay.
Anyway, so back to your original point. I don't know if you were done with it or if those.
Well, no, I really was just saying that, Odo didn't want the Jem'Hadar to be under the specimen-like conditions and be kind of studied like an animal. But then he also came up with a suggestion for the Jem'Hadar, and he said to him, let's not go back to where you're from. Let's go to unexplored space and find a place where you can discover yourself and learn, right?
Right.
And it reminded me, one, of the path that Odo has taken. Odo himself is at DS9, which is kind of this unexplored, outpost in the middle of nowhere. And he's basically suggesting his same kind of lifestyle to the Jem'Hadar. Like, go find some place like DS9, get to know yourself, turn off all your natural instincts of anger and your natural emotions of wanting to beat up everybody, and get to know yourself and zen yourself out. And I thought that wasn't really the best solution either, because like Odo, he wants to know who he is, and Odo wanted to know who he was. So I didn't think that was the best suggestion for Odo.
Right, because just because it worked for him doesn't mean it would work for everybody. And that's what's really interesting about that script, is because we think we know where this episode is going, which is what this kind of show always does. Is the Jem'Hadar is just like, yeah, I don't want to fight, I don't want to be those bad people, I want to be with you, Odo, you're a great mentor, But it's kind of like that fable of the scorpion, that stings, and his scorpion's going to be a scorpion. This thing was, these are aliens that are actually genetically created to fight. It's not so much a character study of people. People are all the same. People are all equal. People all have the same hopes and dreams and wishes. But this is an alien that's genetically created to kill. And actually, probably my favorite line in there was, let me see if I can find it, where when they're walking around the promenade and he asks Odo, why are they looking at me? And he says, they're afraid of you, and he says, yeah, they should be. I could kill every one of them. Like, yes, he knows.
Yeah.
He's been red-pilled.
Yeah. Yeah. And, like, you can't take that away from him. It's funny because another issue that kind of popped up when I was watching this, I was thinking of slavery. And it's funny how slavery and the issues of slavery keep popping back up in different ways. And this way, I thought of it as founders versus the Jem'Hadar, right? And Odo is a founder, and he's now has a fresh start, a clean slate with a Jem'Hadar that hasn't been influenced by environmental pressures.
Right.
So he's thinking, okay, I can change this person and make them be something else other than a programmed fighter, right? Mm-hmm. But the part that brings me to slavery is there, and even Odo mentions it. He says the founders programmed loyalty to the Jem'Hadar, right? So they said, well, why do you think you can trust the Jem'Hadar to be around you, Odo? Well, because I'm pretty sure that the founders programmed loyalty and that they would be loyal to me, right? So that was one thing that jumped out to me, because in institutional slavery, one of the things that is programmed embedded in the slaves is loyalty, right? Mm-hmm. If you stay loyal and then, you don't go anywhere. Now it's forced loyalty some ways. If you run away, we're going to kill you publicly. And so you're going to have to be loyal. So, but it's still programming loyalty.
Sure.
And the other thing that he says something about, it wasn't just the loyalty, it was one other thing. It was just basically, it was actually the drug itself.
Yeah, the Ketracel White. We find out later it's Ketracel White.
Right. And then that was another thing that Odo mentioned. He says, yeah, he's addicted to a drug that's probably used for control by the founders. It just made me think of how in society drugs are sometimes used to dumb down people or keep them in a position of control. Matter of fact, that was one of the big reasons we had the opium wars with China, because China didn't want the opium dumbing down their population and killing all their people. So drugs is used to control people.
Absolutely.
And so those kinds of themes of the loyalty and the drugs just made me think, okay, these are control mechanisms.
100%.
And that was it.
Yeah, and you're right that really even just beyond just drugs, if you get your people to be to need what you are providing, you are buying their loyalty, you're buying control over them. Even if it's food, if it's water, if it's electricity, if it's drugs, whatever it is, the way to control people is to be their providers,
Yeah, absolutely.
And you're right. That's exactly the system that they created. They just said, well, let's create these fighting machines that have to be loyal to us because they have like literally no choice, because we produce the one thing that they need and they can't really get it anywhere else. And so that's it. Sorry, guys, they are their slaves. That's it.
Right. Right. And that they became dependent, right? So that dependency is the thing that actually enslaved you. The other line that I like too, we didn't talk about it, but there was a moment where O'Brien looks over at Odo, they're having their exchange, and O'Brien says, wow, they're giving them drugs to control them. That's cold-blooded. and
As like, he's slamming his whiskey, give me another, barkeep.
Yeah, and he's like, that's cold-blooded. And Odo responds, he's like, my people don't have any blood. And I love the look that O'Brien gives right after that. He kind of looks up like, all right. What the hell is that supposed to mean?
Poor O'Brien. O'Brien's just such a regular dude that when anybody says anything with a different perspective, he's just blown away. He's like, well, yeah, but still, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Cold blood.
You get it.
You get it, right? I mean, am I speaking a different language? The other moment I really like, it's very small, and I don't know if Avery added this in or if it was in the script, and that's, something that I don't know if we'll ever know, but I lean over the dinner table when we're having that dinner date, and I started to lean over to kiss Martha.
I like that you're leaning in right now too.
Yeah, I'm leaning in a little bit. And
yeah.
So I lean in to do the kiss, and Sisko comes walking from the back with the food, and he goes,
right, because that's not actual dialogue. So you're right, that is something that could have theoretically been added by a director. Yeah.
Right. I don't know if Avery said, okay, no, I'm going to be coming in, kind of like, this is your private moment. You think you got a long time.
And you're like, should we be really kissing or not really?
Can we practice? Let's rehearse this a few times.
Yeah. No, that was solid. That was good. And that also that kind of reminds me of the point I was going to make about the writing and like the formula for writing. A lot of times they stick to a very clear formula. There's like A plot and B plot. Every once in a while, like a few episodes ago, there's just one A plot that runs all the way. A Second Skin, I think that was just last week. It's just one A plot all the way through. That's it. There's nothing else to it, and it's a great story. This one initially it felt like it was three plots, because first, it's about Jake and the Dabo girl. Second, they introduce Odo and the baby, or first Quark and the baby, which, okay, so it's Jake and the Dabo girl, then Odo and this Jem'Hadar baby, or Bashir and Quark and the baby. And then there's a third one, which is Kira coming in and helping Odo get accustomed to his new life and his new home and his new quarters and his new adjustment. That was like a C plot, right? But then what ended up happening was that C plot just kind of molded in with the A plot, which was the baby. You know what I mean? Like, so I was like, was that a C plot, or was that kind of like part of the A plot, like plot 1A or something like that? But anyway, I thought that was really interesting how they did that. it was 3 plots, but then it just turned into 2, really.
Yeah, and to piggyback off of what you're saying, to add to that, just the brilliance of the writers putting this stuff together, because it's like a big Tetris puzzle, putting all these blocks together, right?
Yeah.
But they set up this episode, this Marta episode, a few episodes back.
Mm-hmm.
And they actually reference it in the episode where it says, "Dad, I thought you forgot about that," you know? And so I like the way that I had forgotten about it, right? I had forgotten about
He's
Marta.
like, yeah, you said it was okay 4 episodes. I mean, weeks ago.
Exactly. So I like the way that they brought that thing back from 4 episodes ago, right? And this is what DS9 does so well. They plant something, the Jem'Hadar, for example, the Dominion, for example, this, that. They bring it in, they touch it, and then they let it go. And then 3, 4, 5 episodes down the line, it comes right back in your face, and you're like, "Oh yeah, that was the thing that they were talking about back then." Mm-hmm. And that's what they did with this one as well. Not only with the Jake, Marta, Sisko kind of dinner date thing, but they also bringing back this Kira Odo budding love interest. So it's been bubbling a little bit, mm-hmm. right? And this is a continuation of it, right? She comes with the flowers or the plant or whatever it was to kind of, and she seemed a little bit jealous that Odo invited the Jem'Hadar to stay with her. I felt jealousy. Like, you barely let me in your place, Yeah. I had to beg you to come in and and now you're adopting Jem'Hadar babies,
Yeah, this guy's encroaching. Yeah, it's funny, when you mentioned their bubbling, romance is happening, it just kind of got the impression. I was like, I wonder if Odo bubbles when he gets excited, like if when he sees Kira, he just starts bubbling or something. I don't know, that'd be such a funny, oh, how embarrassing, I'm bubbling again, don't look at me. Odo, you're bubbling, grow up. Sorry,
you're turning me on.
Anyway. But no, you're right, that that romantic seed is planted, and now it's just kind of, it's coming in here and there. She brings him some weird plant, and he happens to have a vase, by the way. He's like, oh, why don't I just put it in this vase that's here?
Yeah.
Pretty convenient,
Yeah. There was also another thing they brought up, and obviously some of them are just plain on its face. There's no real mystery about it. But the Jem'Hadar says something to the effect of, to Odo, I'm inferior to you, but they're inferior to me.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. He already knows that thing is ingrained. It's programmed in him.
It was programmed in him, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that's why when he jumped through Odo and Odo liquefied himself, so he went through him. I thought that moment was the moment when he realized that he's a founder.
Exactly. You nailed it. Yeah.
Right. He's like, okay, so he's one of those changeling people that can, that I have to answer to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
that's why my first thought when I saw that was, I was like, why did the guy act so defeated? He dove through Odo, and Odo's like, see, I've defeated you, But then it became apparent that it's because his instincts or whatever kicked in, and he was like, oh, this is somebody that I need to be respecting. This is my boss or my founder or something that I'm supposed to follow,
Yeah. I want to see if you can bring up the guy's name who played the Jem'Hadar in this episode, because I think he should get a little bit of credit.
I agree.
I enjoyed his performance, and I know that I'm guessing he's a black actor.
Yeah.
Which means he had to work under the direction of Avery as a black actor playing this Jem'Hadar, and I thought he did a very good job.
Okay, so the kid, when he was just a little boy, his name was Hassan Nicholas. And the teenager, they never ended up giving him a name, which I was expecting. I don't know if you were expecting that too, but I was expecting eventually for him, he's leaving. He says, okay, but let me give you a name. I'm going to call you Billy. You know,
yeah, they still never gave him a name even till the end. I don't think, right?
No, they did not.
He kept calling him the boy. I'll break the boy, the boy.
Yeah, so his name is Bumper Robinson.
Okay, so Bumper Robinson is a well-known black actor in the business. He's done a lot of work here and there.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a lot of, Avengers Assemble. He does a lot of voiceover work, a lot of Avengers and Marvel and stuff, and Voltron. Wow, lots of that's good work there if he's doing voiceover. He's also in #BlackAF. Kids know what the AF stand for. He was in Blackish, the game, lots of stuff.
He's in lots of things. Yeah,
Bumper's lots of voiceover. Wow.
He's working a lot. He's an actor that works a lot. And I thought he really did a great job. We always highlight the guest stars on our show who are phenomenal, by the way.
It's also Bumblebee in Transformers animated series. Bumblebee. That's a good one. That's a good role.
Yeah, you never forget a guy's name is named Bumper. You got to remember that one.
Yeah.
He's a black guy, right?
Black man. Let me see. Cirroc, I don't see color.
Okay. Yeah.
But if I did, I would say he would have a darker hue, yes.
Okay, all right.
And I would call him Bumper.
He's. I just thought he did a great job because there were a few times when he was really giving it great one-on-one performances against Odo, and we all know Renee is, top of his game and classically trained. But for him to stand toe-to-toe with Odo, and a lot of those scenes, he was like, he delivered for me, the toughness of the character where he wants to kick everybody's ass. That was sold.
Yeah, that was great.
He also sold me on he's scared of Odo. And like Odo, he has to kind of, be obedient and listen to whatever Odo says. So he sold me on both of those dynamics of his character. So I thought he did a great job.
Hang on a second. I just found a picture of him on IMDb.
Yeah.
And I am just so happy I went through his pictures. By the way, he's a Lakers fan, so I don't know.
You forgive me.
I could try. But let me just pull up this picture. And you tell me if you recognize this TV series, because I remember exactly what this is.
Oh, that's him. Yeah. This the Cosby Show?
Sure. No, this got to be Punky Brewster, right? Soleil Moon Frye.
Oh, yeah.
That's Sherry. And then her dad would be like, Punker. She'd be like, Henry, Punker. And then that was Sherry, Brandon. Yeah, there he is, man.
That's him. Yeah.
That's so cool.
And he's obviously older now, guys.
Yeah,
that's not
older.
That's not a current picture. But yeah, he was great, man. I thought he was good in this episode.
I agree. And the way he walked too, like he had a walk of like he's ready to kill. Like he's like he was like he was really feeling himself. Like that's right, I could take anybody on, when he's walking around.
Yeah.
Like he's ready. Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing, and this is completely out of left field, but it just another thing that crossed my mind when you watch these episodes, so many different emotions and stuff come through your head and you're like, oh, that, this. But one of the things that came to my head was Kira when she said, can you trust him? And he's like, I trust him. Odo was like, yeah, I trust him. He's just going to stay. And Kira's like, but can you trust him? He's a Jemadar. He's dangerous. And it reminded me, and this is completely out of left field, but also of the pit bull conversation.
Oh,
pit bulls are always like, yeah, he's dangerous. Can you trust it? And then there's people like, no, he's completely, it's my dog. He's harmless.
So sweet.
They're sweet. Yeah, he's harmless. He's sweet. But But he could at some point if he wanted to. Just
kill you. And we're not talking about like biting your ankles and making you sad. We're talking about like actual death.
Actual death. So it actually reminded me of the pit bull kind of debate discussions that are out there,
Got it. I actually, my family's actually had a few pit bulls when I was growing up and older. One of which was, he must have been mixed with a bull mastiff because he was 100 pounds. He was a beast. He looked like a dinosaur, and his head was just like a dump truck. It was gigantic, but his face was like a marshmallow. He was just the sweetest little guy. And like, he was so sweet that the cats would use him like as a jungle gym. He was just this big beast, and they'd be playing on him and running around and biting his wiener and just doing whatever they want to the poor guy. And he would just look at us like, are you guys gonna do anything? But anyway, so yeah. But he could have eaten them, yes.
He could have, but wasn't what he wanted to do. He was a sweetheart. But wasn't Picard had that pit bull too? That was
right. It was like a French bulldog or something like that.
It wasn't a pit bull? No, it was a pit.
Maybe it was a kind of pit.
The reason why I say that is because I asked my friend. I said, "Hey, you gonna watch the new Picard?" This was when they were putting the billboards out there, and my buddy was like, "Hell yeah, Picard's got a pit bull now, and his ears are clipped."
Oh. And
I was like, "Wow!" So that pit bull in the poster like turned on a whole bunch of other fans that normally would not have wanted
just
to
hooked
watch.
Up another $5.99 to CBS All Access right there.
Exactly.
So we're just about out of time here. I feel like we could talk about this episode forever, but we covered everything. We got Mandalay sauce, we got pit bulls, we got everything.
A little bit of every little Dom Jot hustling.
Man, oh man alive. So anyway, stick around for the free-for-all. We've got great questions for the free-for-all that we're going to have to think of super quick because I don't have any right now. I don't know if you do either. But stick around for the free-for-all. It's going to be an awesome one. We're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to laugh and joke and talk about Punker Brewster. No, that doesn't sound like Punker. Anyway, we'll see you around. Also, we want to give a very special thanks to Yvette Blackmon, Rex Wood, Dennis Koch, Homer Frizzell, Eve England, and Marie Segal, Carmen Shamwell, Rob Hoffman, and PJ Tomas. We will see you on the other side on the Seventh Rule. Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Seventh Rule with Cirroc Lofton. We've got Carmen. I'm not going to give him your government name, as you said.
Carmen Skillet.
Malissa Longo, Anne-Marie Segal, Rex A. Wood, and Commander Homer Frizzell.
Oh, look at Homer's t-shirt.
Yeah, what is that? Sid City? Is that Siddig?
Yeah.
It is Siddig, yeah. He's having a social club, and so it meets twice a week, and it's a big Zoom. It's on, I think, Tuesdays and Fridays.
Can you show us the shirt a little bit?
Sure.
Nice.
Social club. I love that idea.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, it's fun.
It's fun. That's the social club. Ooh.
And Cirroc and Carmen were talking about Idris Elba.
Nothing wrong with a little Idris Elba, right?
That's right. He's so good in
also
Luther.
Social.
He plays such a good American criminal in that show that you wouldn't even know that he's like a British actor.
It's amazing.
It's amazing.
It's weird watching that show now, having seen him in everything else, and he's British. Because I'm just watching The Wire for the first time. And, it's like I'm watching it, it's so funny, and I'm like, oh, he's in here. Oh, he's in here. Oh, and it's like, it's this show that you always wonder, like, how did this actor get started? And it's like, oh, yeah, they're all on The Wire.
They're all in The Wire.
We're also, like, my boyfriend's seen it, but I have not seen The West Wing. And so we're watching The West Wing, and I'm like, oh. And there's so many references that I'm now getting from, like, 2004 that I'm only just getting. So that's great.
It's funny that you guys say he plays like an American criminal, but he's really a British actor. And what you guys don't know is he's not actually a British actor. He's actually a Norse god. So
right. It is very, He is Asgardian.
He's a Norse god pretending to be a. That's a Thor. That's a Thor reference.
Heimdall.
Heimdall.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
And he's also in Star Trek, though
Yeah.
covered in makeup.
True.
Mm-hmm.
No, he's in Star Trek?
He's the main villain in the most recent Star
Decision to
Trek
cover
movie.
him in. How
Star
did you
Trek.
ever cover him up?
Not Into Darkness. Star Trek.
Beyond.
Thank you.
And Anne-Marie says, why would you cover him up?
Yeah. Oh my
Why
god.
would you mess up that face?
Oh, my favorite part of like the royal wedding that of course I got up really early to watch was that he was walking in front of Oprah and then he realized Oprah was behind him and then he kept like looking behind him and like sort of smiling and like it was really a really cute fanboy moment.
Yeah.
Sounds cute. So here's a question for all of you guys if you're ready for it. And we're going to start with Malissa here because she's the one that looks like she wants to be asked. She wants to be asked the least.
That's the face.
The question is, if you were Odo, what would be the first thing you would turn into?
Ooh.
Or Odo powers.
Ooh.
What would be the first thing? It could be a person. It can be an Aldarian eagle or whatever it was. It could be a chair. If you just like fabric on you.
Probably wouldn't be a chair. 'Cause I don't want people sitting on me. And then, accidentally pass gas or something.
Or deliberately.
Deliberately. That's a good question. There'd be so many things. Maybe like a dolphin or a whale so I could swim in the ocean as fast as dolphins swim. They're like torpedoes in the water.
Yeah.
So something like
which
that.
which body of water that's close to DS9 would you be able to do that?
Somewhere on Bajor, probably.
The core province. You could check Robert Hewitt Wolf's Bajor map, by the way. Did you ever?
Not that.
Oh my gosh.
If anybody needs to see the map of Bajor, just check his Twitter. They wrote out, he wrote out the entire planet of Bajor with maps, and they added all these cities and provinces and stuff like that. It's really cool. What about you, Carmen?
If I were Odo, what would I turn into
Or
first?
a changeling or founder?
Okay, so if I was a
Shapeshifter.
changeling, presumably with more experience of changing into things as Odo, because Odo always had trouble with changing into other humanoids. So if we're talking about the time in the show, probably one of the Cardassians, just so I could really mess some stuff up.
Oh.
Really
An agent
get in
of
because
chaos.
because
I love
the
that.
founders seemed to want to sort of upend Starfleet, which I thought was weird. And they impersonated a bunch of Starfleet officers. So I feel like for me, if it was me, I definitely wanted the Cardassians so I could really get in there and like.
Do you feel like you could emulate their personality as well?
The arrogance? Oh yeah, I could do that.
Easy.
What about you, Homer? Would you be a Cardassian too, or would you be an Aldarian seagull?
So, Ryan, I haven't given this a lot of thought since you just asked the question a little bit ago. But I think what I would do is change into Nessie so that we can get some good pictures
Fun.
and have a dram of whiskey, Scotch whiskey while I'm there.
Nice,
So,
and I
yeah.
like Jake's picture right behind you. That's
Yeah,
hilarious.
look at that.
That's
Something is going on at the dinner table.
moment ever.
That's when you smell something and you don't want to know who dealt that.
Ah.
I don't want to be a chair.
Exactly. So, Homer, if you turned into Nessie and people got pictures, would you then like ruin it and be like, "Just kidding, there's no such thing. I'm just a changeling."
Oh, no. I would keep it going. It would be something I would do to boost the local economy. And so
Okay.
I would have to keep it on the down low.
That's awesome.
That's solid.
Yeah.
Well, Anne-Marie, we've
There's no chopping that answer.
we've pinned your video, which means everybody's just looking only at you right now. Or at least the recording is, which means that same question. What do you think?
I don't know. I was gonna say a bird actually, so that I could like get to places faster. But then if this is a Star Trek world, then I could just transport. So I don't know. Maybe I'd be somebody in the Sisko family, so I could eat at Joe's Sisko restaurant more often.
Mandalay sauce.
You can eat there anywhere you want, and it's free.
And it's free.
That's true. I don't know. I have no idea.
Clearly, this was not your question.
I know. This was not the question I had prepared.
What about Rex A. Wood? Rex, can you top that one?
Maybe. I don't know. Rex would be a Ferengi. Rex would be a Ferengi. Yeah, absolutely. I think that because I've got a lot of salesman in me and a lot of promotion in me, I would want to do that. I definitely would want to do that. I would fit right in making the money and doing the deals and everything like that. So absolutely. Ferengi.
Rex.
Yeah. A lot of single men on the planet too.
They would expect you to create a new rule of acquisition. And what would be the Rex rule of acquisition?
Wow. Let me see. I know
nice
that's even
follow-up question.
Yeah, it is a nice follow-up question.
You're on your game, Ryan.
Yeah, and he may be too good on his game. That's the thing. Thinking of a rule that maybe isn't taken at that point. High number. Never change a dollar bill. In other words, never give them their change back. I guess that would be a rule. Never give them back. Like
I can't tell you how many times I've been scammed by that.
Yeah, you won't get back. Like you give me a 20 and you only pay $10, I keep the 10. So you just. I guess that would be. There's probably a better one, but kind of put on the spot.
No, that's a good one. Very good. Yeah. Very creative.
We don't exchange big bills.
That's right.
Exchange for big bills.
Right. It has to be 100 or we don't take it.
And we don't take it.
What about you, Cirroc? Do you have what would be the first thing you'd become if you had changeling powers?
Well, I don't know. I thought if I was Odo and I had the changeling powers, I would do something like be the Grand Nagus so I could toy with Quark. make him kiss my ring and do all kinds of stuff. Yeah, I think I'd do that. And then there's always the one sexual aspect if you were unable to do that you would be able to be better in bed, I would think.
Yeah. You wouldn't even have to move.
Okay.
You could just I didn't know this is this kind of show.
You could just sit. You could just sit there and.
I was just.
It goes there once in a while.
I'm just throwing it away. That's a throwaway. That's about it. So.
No, it's still here. It's not.
Is it still here? I didn't throw it that far then.
Nope.
It's not the first time we've discussed this either. Probably not the last.
Well, it just seems natural. I don't know.
Yeah. Whereas me. I would probably be some kind of bird, just to see what it's like to fly. I mean, because we all kind of have some kind of fear of flying, not necessarily in an airplane, but like if somebody said, hey, you can hang glide or whatever, you'd be like, okay, but there's always that thought of, well, if this thing rips, I could die, or whatever it happens to be. Whereas if you're a bird, there's that fear doesn't even come into play. They don't even understand the thought of falling. So I think it'd be cool to just be able to just fly wherever, go high, go low, get eaten by a bird, whatever.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody, and
Okay.
Hit record.
It wasn't a very funny answer. It's just the truth.
Wait, what bird is going to eat another bird?
Oh, no, a cat. Eat the bird.
I was just waiting for the joke. The joke.
Yeah, me too.
Something was coming.
There. Nothing was coming. Sorry, Rex.
No jokes.
For sure.
But what is that shirt you got on, Rex? You got on a different collar, it looks like.
Yeah, this is the Discovery, the Enterprise, the new Pike shirt. Yeah, that's
I like it.
Yeah, that's the new Pike one.
Is that a Novos or another
Get
maker?
them so fast.
What's that?
Is that a Novos or another maker? You know, a Novos, they're one of the licensed.
Oh no, actually, there's a lady on the internet that's licensed, but she actually it's called Star Trek. I think clothing and uniforms. And one thing I like about her is that when she does a uniform, she actually asks all the fans about it first before she even makes it. So if there's anything particularly that's not right about it, she'll actually come back with a new design just to make sure everybody's happy. And she's reasonably priced, so no plug. But
you can plug her. What do you know what her name is?
That's the name of the group. It's actually called Star Trek Uniforms and Clothing, and she's on the internet. And she does a very good job with it. Very reasonably priced with things. She just started doing, or will have a first contact uniform done. And she actually, it took her like 6 months to do it because she would make one and the fans would say, well, this doesn't quite look right. And there, there's fans that know the uniforms down to the stitch.
Right.
And actually she would produce a new one, bring it out. I think Homer's on that. I think on there too. I think I've seen you on there a couple times. So yeah.
Rex, don't drag me into this.
Anyway,
Rex,
it's a good site if you want something that's inexpensive and looks good and is decent quality.
Can you show us the uniform again?
Yeah, let me stand up.
Okay, no, that's good. I just wanted.
I love the collar.
Yeah. The collar's a little bit different than and I just recently bought an original one from her too, plus another one on top of it. But yeah, I just don't have the pants on yet, so I won't show you the rest of the way down.
Yeah, we don't need to see you without pants.
You guys don't need to see the rest of the way down if I don't have pants.
That's a Patreon tier.
Nice upsell.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, that's a whole nother tier.
It's a whole different tier.
Be the associate producer without pants. No.
Okay.
Really fast, can Cirroc do the face that's in Homer's background for us?
Oh, yes.
Wait, really? I don't think it'll look the same, will it?
I don't think it'll look the same, but it's funny because my daughter now hits me with that same face.
Oh, yeah.
So
really?
I'm on the receiving end of it now as a dad.
It's almost like he's like.
It's
It's almost like somebody just pinched you from behind too. You're like, whoa!
Yeah, one of those kind of moments. I don't know. That's an early episode too. What is that?
Oh,
That's like first season.
This is third season. I think it's episode 6. Not positive. It's called The Abandoned.
Oh, that is from The Abandoned. Oh, that's the look. Oh, okay. So now I know exactly the moment that's from.
Oh,
that's
cool.
the moment where Martha says, "Yeah, that's what I'm dating, Marta." Yep. And that's the moment where Marta says, "Isn't it crazy how people will judge you by your job?"
Oh, yeah.
And I look over at my dad, like, see, like somebody over here likes to do a lot of judging.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, I get it.
Awesome.
That's
knowledge,
the moment.
Homer.
Absolutely. Academy Award right there.
Thank you.
Right there.
Thank you.
Look, you just missed out on it by that much.
Everybody calls me the Black Doug Jones. So,
Do they?
Cirroc and
I haven't heard that.
Cirroc and I were talking about how Doug Jones sounds like the name of like a 6'2" wing player out of the G League that's coming up on a 10-day contract.
And now,
what do you guys
number
think?
27.
Yes, number 27. Doug. Oh.
Half of you guys are like, I don't even know what you're saying.
No, keep talking. This is how I learn about sports.
No, it's not interesting.
Well, this is how you learn about.
I'm sure that's the intent of the show.
So
not a good way.
We got to go in a couple minutes, but before we go, I do want to go around and ask everybody this one question. Let's assume that all concerts, all audience kind of shows for like sports, all conventions, everything is done for 2020. And then let's say it's all back next year. What's the first thing that you want to go to once everything is back to full swing? Carmen,
Whoa,
Carmen. That's you, Carmen.
That's on you. You got the
Has
answer.
to be you on that one.
Yeah.
Well, you guys, first of all, I run a convention.
Okay.
we are canceled for this year, and it sucks. And
when is it next year?
When was it supposed to be?
it's supposed to be July 17 through 19.
Oh, nuts.
We're in the DC area. In July 16 through 18 next year. But I kind of have to go to cons because it's like part of like what we do is we have promo tables at other cons. So the very first one that I would go to would be MagFest, which is the very first week of January. Literally, it's like January 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th. And then KatsuCon, which is an anime con. And then Farpoint Con, which is a Star Trek con in February. Nice. So it's like, those are the first three things where like I'd almost be required to go to. Like what I want doesn't matter. But so those are the things that I would go to.
Where's the Farpoint Con at?
Farpoint Con, funny you should ask. They're in Hunt Valley, Maryland, which is just outside of Baltimore. And I know the con runner for that show. So
stay tuned for that.
Good to know me.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, so that one's in Maryland, and it's a good time. It's just, but yeah, con season has just like been put on hold. So for a person like me, this is devastating for our entire community. So yeah, that's the first three things, 2020. January 2nd, MagFest.
Got it. Homer, what about you?
I think it would be a Yankees game. You know, I like to do that at least once a year, sometimes a little more often. And I don't know if that's going to happen this year or not. If it does, then I would have to have a different answer. And I would say something like Shakespeare in the Park, you know, in Central Park.
Poignant.
Yeah.
Sounds fun. I've never been. Anybody else been to Shakespeare in the Park?
And Marie.
I've been to Shakespeare in the Park.
Makes me feel like an idiot because I never know what's going on. But I've been.
I've been to Dream in the Park.
What about you, Malissa? What would be the first event you would go to once everything is back to normal?
First event. I have no idea. I have no clue.
Would it be music? Would it be theater? Would it be a convention?
I'm not sure.
BikerCon?
Huh?
BikerCon 2021?
Symposium?
Yeah.
Isn't the Star Trek cruise early in the year every year? Maybe you'd do that.
Yeah.
I would love to do that. I don't know if that's in the cards for me for next year or not. That's always everything that happens is always a guessing game. I have no clue what is gonna happen and what the first thing I would do. There's so many things that I would want to do. First thing that I want to do when I'm able is to use my SAG card.
Yeah.
It's, you know, I want to
Not
work.
the best time to be an actor right now.
No. Yeah.
Right. So rather than an event, you want to get back to work.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
What about you, Rex A. Wood?
Well, I have to plan my events because of my job. So if it happens, which it should next year, wherever it may be, the Star Trek Las Vegas, wherever if they wind up staying there or somewhere else, definitely that, because there's so many of you that I need to meet in person. And so definitely that. So with me making plans, if it's later in the year, that gives me time to make sure those plans work. So that's what I would do. I would definitely do a big con, something like that. Yeah. Nice. Absolutely.
That's a good one.
Anne Marie, do you feel the same way, or do you not want to meet everybody in person?
Sure. As TLV, and I'm a come to me kind of girl, so I'll just be at Masquerade and everyone can come there and say hi. But also in New York, for sure, the first thing I'm doing is going to sing show tunes at Marie's Crisis, the piano bar sing along.
Marie's Crisis.
It's so fun. And you can sing along virtually every night at their Facebook group, which is called Marie's Group, like Marie's plural, no apostrophe. Super fun. And you never know what celebrity will be there or like Broadway star. It's really fun.
It's like karaoke? Is that what it is?
It's just like a dive bar, and then there's a pianist on a piano, and the whole bar sings along to every show tune that comes up. And the alcohol is like $5, which in New York's unheard of. It's really fun.
It's more like I don't karaoke.
You don't care, but...
No, that sounds awesome. What about you, Cirroc? First event? We going to a Lakers game? You going to go to a Warriors game?
An event, okay.
Anything.
You know, I miss little smaller things. I actually miss eating at a restaurant. I've been eating, you know, I go to eat with my daughter, and taking it out all the time is not the same as eating it hot and fresh right at the place that you're in. So I miss sitting down and having dinner with her and just sharing those kind of moments. And I guess I miss socializing at bars and stuff too. I think that even though I don't drink that much or I don't socialize that much, now that I can't do it, I want to do it. So it's like, and I'm not a going out every weekend, every Friday night. I'm not that type of person, but I actually am looking forward to the days that you can go out and have a drink and share stories with somebody, some random stranger at a bar.
It's kind of like when guys are like, they look at a lady and they're like, nah. And then she like gets a boyfriend, and suddenly they're like, you know, I don't know what it is, but all of a sudden it's like, it's kind of like that or no?
Not exactly like that at all. No. This is just about drinking and socializing, you know, just having the barrier removed. Because right now it's like, you walk down the street, and if somebody doesn't have a mask on, they are so nervous about having to put their mask on as you guys pass by, right? So I can see people reaching for their mask, and everybody's like trying to cover up and face the other way. And it's just like, I feel like we were already heading down a path where socially we were not being that, you know, we were already being separated by our computers and our phones, and all of our devices were actually making us kind of be like this and be internal. And I feel like we're now even becoming more distant from each other. And I miss interactions with people. I miss those kinds of things.
Yeah.
You know, a hug, giving a hug to somebody. Like, it's small, but it's actually, it's human contact that I think we need.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's like what Melissa said the other day. Anywhere that there's hugs.
Yes.
That was the best quote.
I'm like, not hug.
Yeah, I want to give you a hug.
Yeah.
You know, and
honestly, that's
spend some
kind
time.
of one of the things that's crazy about like not going to cons. Every time I go to a con, which is like once and twice a month, I'm seeing my entire social group, and it's the whole weekend. It's just, you know, hugs and, you know, Artist Alley and hugs and photo ops and hugs and drinks and hugs and more food and hugs and hugs. Oh my God, you guys are so great. You're so great. Oh my God, your cosplay is so great. Oh my God, I love you. And so it's really crazy to think that like I've never been a huggy person, but like not having that.
See, you guys know. You want what you can't have.
Yeah.
I'll close it out real quick. For me, it'd be Star Trek Las Vegas, of course, when it reopens next year. But of course, it may not even happen. It might not be at the Rio, might not be in Vegas. It may never happen again. But if it does, it would totally be Star Trek Las Vegas. And Cirroc, when you were telling us your thing, it made me think, you know, I wouldn't mind going to some shady ass pizza parlor. And just, you know what I mean?
Awesome.
Like not one that's like Round Table or Domino's, but just one that's like a ma and pa thing, you know, with a couple video games in the corner and with like $12 pitchers of beer, and it smells like pizza when you walk in, you know, and just kind of hanging out with a few buddies and having pizza that's probably not healthy, but who cares?
Exactly. It's kind of the small things that you do every day that you take for granted. And you miss them when they get taken away from you. You know, and I actually really hope that we get back to normal and not to this like 6 foot away thing, because even if it comes back, conventions next year, for example, if you have to be 6 feet away from everybody, and I don't know how our photo ops going to work, how our autographs going to work, how we're just meeting people going to work. I mean, half the time I just give hugs to people, you know, and socialize with them. So if that aspect is removed, then it's going to be, we might as well just be in like a Zoom chat like we're doing now.
Yeah, I agree.
Cool, guys.
Like the glass wall that says, "Do not feed the celebrities."
Yeah, they're gonna put us in a plastic plexiglass bubble.
Bubble boy. You can be bubble boy. And go around in the bubble.
Moops.
Exactly.
Moops.
Yeah.
Seinfeld. Anyway, thank you all very much for joining us. We got a couple things to discuss as soon as we stop recording. And thank you guys for, being part of this awesome free-for-all. We'll see you again real soon, everybody, on the 7th Rule.